Welcome, everyone. This is our August 6th regular board meeting of the Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our boardroom is open with an in-person format. However, we will continue to broadcast our meetings over Zoom to provide the opportunity for our community to observe in real time. The Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District is now reconvening to open session, and it is 7:05 p.m. As president, the meeting is now called to order. I want to please advise you that our board meetings are televised on local channel 28 on Wednesday and Saturday evenings, and on Monday, Friday, and Saturday mornings. We're going to begin with the flag salute, and I will ask Ms. Kelly Mankey to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. We do have an item that was an action approved in closed session that must be reported out. I asked Trustee Bueno if he would please report that out.
Okay. In closed session, the board approved to terminate the contract and release a certificated employee.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about our meeting procedures. So once again, this is a regular meeting of our school district, where the primary focus is the education of students of this school district. During this meeting, members of the public will have the opportunity to share information and voice their ideas and concerns regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During the board's discussion of each agenda item, there will be time for you to have the opportunity to speak to the item. If the topic you want to address is not on the agenda, we would encourage you to please fill out and turn in a tan speaker card. You'll find them up on the table in the front of the room. And we will call you to speak out on that topic during section 8.1, communications from the public. If you wish to address a topic that is on the agenda, we encourage you to please fill out and turn in a blue speaker card. I will call out your names in no particular order and speak to the board for no more than 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. I would ask Superintendent Dr. Gibson if there are any changes to the agenda.
We do. We are pulling item 10.8 as we have additional change orders that came in today, so we'll bring that item back at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Our student board member representatives will not be reporting yet as the school year has not begun. We look forward to seeing them, I believe, at our next board meeting. Is that right? So that will be exciting. And looks like we don't have any representatives from our bargaining units tonight, but I would just like to recognize who they are. Our LEA president is Amy Thompson. Our vice president is Tara Lutz. Our CSEA president is Stephanie Wagner, and SEIU Kirsty Governor is president, and a representative for CMC is Lily Lopez. Now is the time for audience communication, and I believe that I have no cards. I don't see anyone jumping up to get that, so we have no communication from the public. I will just point out, just in case we have some later on, that we will listen to the comment and we can ask clarifying questions, but that we cannot discuss or take action at this meeting on topics that are not on the agenda in accordance with the Brown Act. Also, if you would like to address a topic that is not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. We're going to move on to correspondence. And I would ask our clerk, do we have any correspondence?
We have no board correspondence to report.
Okay, and as a reminder, formal written correspondence to the Board of Education will be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will generally be acknowledged at the following meeting. And you can find a way to do that on the website in the board section. We are going to now invite Mr. Clark Conover up and move on to our information discussion items to talk to us about the naming of the Granada High School Stadium.
Sorry about that. There you go. Good evening, Board President Prusso and members of the board, Dr. Gibson. I'm going to like to tell you about former Principal Kevin Drake. Kevin Drake was an amazing citizen, a world-class educator, and a great man. Kevin was a resident of Livermore from 1969 to 2024. Kevin was a teacher, coach, athletic director, vice principal, and principal for the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District from 1969 until his retirement in 2004. Kevin was a Granada High School history teacher, head football coach, athletic director from 1978 until 1986, when he was appointed vice principal at Livermore High School. He returned to Granada High School in 1994, and as a principal, he was a principal there until 2004 at his time of his retirement. His leadership and community rewards include Tri-Valley Hall of Fame, Rotary Club, Livermore President, Livermore Sports Hall of Fame, co-coordinator of the Choose Love, Bob Vincent Award for Community Service, Keith Frazier Community Service Award, Livermore Administrator of the Year, and he was the co-author of the History of Granada High School. Kevin passed away this past spring, and I had quite a few outpouring of former alumni suggesting that maybe we could do something, name our stadium after him. So, let me see if I can do this. We put a committee together and met twice in accordance to our AR. Members of the committee were all tied to Granada, retired teachers, principals, current members, and they're listed there. The committee came up with 3 suggestions in order of favored. 1, Kevin Drake Stadium. 2, Kevin Drake Memorial Stadium. 3, Kevin Drake Athletic Stadium. We've submitted the names to the superintendent per AR 7310. I know that it has to be informed here once and then voted on at the next meeting, which I believe is September 3rd. So, and I don't know if that's we would like to ask the superintendent's recommendation to recommend to the board to vote on it at that time.
Perfect. I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
The order that you have them in, so the Kevin Drake Stadium is what your committee is recommending, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that will be what we bring back at September 3rd for the board to formally approve.
Yes, please.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, I have no blue cards on this, or any comments or questions from the board.
Just maybe a comment.
Go ahead.
Having been at Granada High School for 20 years coaching, his legacy still remains. And I went to his service, and it was a who's who of who's been at Granada for 50 years. People flew in from out of state to attend it, a very widely respected individual across spectrums, like people that you wouldn't think, but he bound a lot of people together, and he was the mentor for a lot of people and a lot of kids at a time when that school was struggling and needed leadership. He did an outstanding job. So,
He hired me in the district, so
Oh,
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
That
it's
was-
too
yeah,
bad.
I'd say he must be
That
great.
might have,
Must have been awesome
that-
then.
You
of
might not have
course.
wanted to admit that one. No, it's so awesome, and I would just say that I love that we have the opportunity to do this. We've been able to do this a few other times, including Mr. Conover has the wrestling room named after him. This opportunity that we have to honor these people is just, I'm fully supportive of it. So we'll be excited to bring that back at the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Conover, for your time.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Conover, for the time that you put into getting to this point.
Yeah.
It's appreciated.
And I see Mr. Hart is now coming up to join us. Going to ask him to present on the local indicator update.
Good evening, Board President Prusso, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, members of cabinet, members of the community. I'm Matthew Hart. I'm Director of Assessment and Accountability. Back in June, I presented to you the local indicators. There was a lot happening that night. I hope you remember. These are the 5 the 5 metrics by the state that they're judged sort of by narratives that we submit or certain numbers that we have to submit. There are rules that govern us presenting that in June. It's supposed to be presented along with the LCAP, which is supposed to be, adopted on the night of the budget. However, what I need to come to you tonight with is an additional update because we had to present it then. We have to present all the data associated with it. However, one of the indicators has changed the way that they did the data for it. So local indicator 1 has to do with staffing, facilities, and instructional materials. The staffing part of that, it used to be that they would ask us, tell us how many teachers you have misassigned. And starting last year, they no longer do that. And they tell us, based on what we submit through CalPads, how many teachers we have misassigned. However, the state had not released the data at the point that we were required to present to you. So I'm here to give you an update on the additional data that has since been released to us by the state. That's it. So these are the local indicators. It's the 5 with the standard met on the California dashboard. I'm sure you're familiar with that. There they are in pretty bubbles. So yes, the CD released data on teacher assignments in July after the original local indicator presentation, so I'm just here to supplement that. As a reminder about priority 1, it has to do, so the teacher assignment data is uploaded automatically based on information in CalPads. It also asks about students without access to standards aligned materials. We don't have any of that. We've passed all of our they're called Williams audits. And the number of identified instances where facilities do not meet the good repair standard, we also have 0 of those, all of which is good. 0s are good. You don't want students who don't have access to materials or buildings that do not meet good repair standard. So we're fine on the other things. So here is the data that the state released to us in July. I guess the intention is that this all sort of be seen together with all of the local indicators, but here it is isolated. That's not for emphasis. It's just because the data has been released to us since then. So that's the aggregated state data that gives us clear, out-of-field, intern. In my report, I defined the terminology for you on those. It's sort of more complicated than I used to present. So if you're looking for what exactly out-of-field means, I do include the definitions for those within the report. I should mention, by the way, this is data that's not for last year, even though we submitted it last year. It's for 2 years ago. That is the data that they provide to us. So the next steps here is just that updated state and local indicators will be released to the public during the 24-25 school year. There's no action that's necessary for this, but questions are welcome if necessary.
I have no blue cards. Any comments?
What does incomplete mean on the chart slide?
It means that there's some portion of data that doesn't allow them to determine whether it's meeting the correct requirement. Some of this has to do, so this data is 2 years old. I don't know how into the weeds you want me to get, but some of this data is 2 years old. That was a conversion of CalPads coding and how we were submitting what our courses were labeled as, how we were attaching particular instructors to those courses and the credentials that they had to have those. I think we're getting better at the coding side of it. I know that Director of Secondary Education, Jason Krolakowski, along with our SIS coordinator, Heidi Novell, have worked really hard to kind of fix up the coding for all of the courses. I know that Amy Robbins in Human Resources has worked hard to manage making sure that credentialing is sort of reported. So I think that you'll see this I think the incomplete numbers should drop over time as we get our coding a little bit better.
Any other comments or questions? I have no blue cards. Nope. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Start. Okay. Yeah. We're going to move on to our discussion action items, and I would like to invite Ms. Katie Kraus to come up. She will be presenting us the approval of Board Policy 5030, Student Wellness.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, Cabinet, and Community. My name is Katie Kraus, and I'm the Director of Child Nutrition. And this is the first and hopefully final reading of the proposed changes for Board Policy 5030. This policy was originally adopted in 2006 and was last revised in 2017. Within the changes of the student wellness policy, you will find that the mandated changes have been updated verbatim throughout from CSBA. And the indicators of effectiveness found on page 4 of the policy you all have been left to the discretion of each school district per CSBA. In Livermore, our indicators were selected by the Health and Wellness Committee and approved by the Policy Change Committee. We chose indicators that will have some of the greatest impact on students' overall health and wellness outside of mental health, which now has its own board policy. The indicators in BP 5030 provide for the opportunity both to learn about and implement healthy nutrition and physical activity choices. And due to the nature of an academic calendar year, implementing these components of the policy in a school environment offers a relatively high degree of consistency in a young person's life. And this exposes the students to the basic but most impactful elements of nutrition and physical activity on their growing minds and bodies, providing them the building blocks for healthier decisions for years to come. Additionally, these changes allow us for keeping up with the digital age of communicating and being transparent with our status to our public community through online access. This applies to the availability of and updates to the policy itself, our triennial assessment requirements and results, progress towards meeting our goals, and record keeping of our compliance. So the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the updates of Board Policy 5030, the student wellness policy, with this first and final reading.
Thank you. I have no blue cards. Any questions, comments? Nope. If not, I would entertain a motion.
I motion in support of the superintendent's recommendation to approve the updates to Board Policy 5030, Student Wellness Policy.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Bueno, seconded by Trustee Druin. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not, I'd ask our clerk to take roll.
Trustee Bueno?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
President Prusso?
Aye. That motion carries unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent items, and I believe we are needing to pull out 10.8.
Yes.
Is there any other items that the board member would wish to remove? And is this pulled for discussion
No, it's pulled completely from the agenda.
completely until we can, okay, just
Correct.
checking?
We'll provide an update at a future meeting.
Okay. And so then, if there are no other consent items to move, I guess we'll just take out 10.8. We have 8 then consent items all the way to 10.9, so we'll just remove 10.8.
President Prusso, I move that we adopt 10 consent items 10.1 through 10.7 and 10.9 in their entirety.
Second?
We have a motion by Trustee Druin, seconded by Trustee Wong. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'd ask the clerk to please take roll.
Myself, aye. Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Trustee Bueno? President Prusso?
Aye. That motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we're going to move on to our resolutions. There is one consent item resolution on the agenda this evening, 005-2425. Anyone need to discuss anything on this resolution? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
President Prusso, I move that we adopt consent resolution number 005-24-25 in its entirety.
I second.
We have a motion by Trustee Druin, seconded by Trustee Guzman. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'd ask the clerk to please take roll.
Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Trustee Bueno?
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Prusso?
Aye. And that motion carries unanimously. And we had no items removed for a separate discussion. So we're going to move on to our board member reports. I'll start with Trustee Guzman.
Yes, thank you. So I attended the leadership meeting last Thursday for a portion of it, and what I saw was, it seemed like it was a really great day. It was planned for a great day, but also just listening to the expectations for the year. And then I was also very encouraging, if that's the word, the reaffirmation that the district personnel are here to support sites, and support can look different at any moment, time, or day. And so I just thought that was really good to hear. So thank you.
Trustee Wong.
I just have two things. I also attended the leadership day, and I was there at the beginning and the end, and so I saw them at the beginning of the day fresh and excited, and that at the end where they were exhausted but really energized, and a lot of discussion among the principals about how they were going to implement this at their school sites. So I want to thank Superintendent Gibson for all your hard work putting that together and facilitating that. And then this past weekend, I had an opportunity to see a really great production put on by some of our alumni and current students, play at the Bothwell Art Center, and it was a musical written by one of our graduates, Calvin Schaller, and had some of our alumni students, but also current students from middle school through high school. It was really great. They sang, they danced, it was really interesting, 2.5 hours long. It's called the Transit Trilogy at the Bothwell, and it was partly paid for by a grant from the city of Livermore. So I love that sort of collaboration. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Bueno.
Yeah, I too attended the leadership thing, and it was nice to see Dr. Gibson. It was her first opportunity to come before everyone like that and to conduct it, and to see our site administrators collaborating, working towards things. That's always exciting to kick off the year. And speaking of kickoffs, that'll be something down the road in the future that might be kind of exciting as well. And then just the one more thing, it's only been a week. I'd just like to congratulate our LEA president, being another grandma. She brought in a little chunkster little girl who came in all healthy. Her daughter and little baby are healthy. So congratulations to Amy.
Trustee Druin.
It's only been a week since we were here, so not a lot has happened. But I have been at some school sites seeing teachers busily in their classrooms getting ready. And it made me reflect on administrators and staff and facilities and teachers all working to get schools ready for students. And I think it's, part of me was thinking, how do you frame that? And it's, thinking teachers coming in when they're out of contract, and, that I had it at the tip of my tongue earlier today, something like, comes from the heart. But I think it's also a level of professionalism, that they understand the needs of the students and that they know what they need to do and they're willing to do those things. So just really proud of teachers. Even if they didn't come in, that's fine. They're going to be ready, and our students are going to have a fantastic first day. So it's an exciting time of year.
Thank you. It only has been a week, and I was gone almost that entire time up camping, and so I missed the leadership meeting, but I've heard great things about it. And I would just like to say, as a parent and watching teachers in our community and students, there's lots of mixed emotions about going back to school, some excitement, some not so excitement. I feel like the parents are really excited. So I am excited to get started. This will be my daughter's senior year, which is exciting and also very emotional. So we're going to try to get through this year all together. Everyone's going to help me get through this year together. So just exciting time of year to just watch, like Trustee Druin said, just watch everybody getting ready. Now we'll turn the time over to Dr. Gibson for her report.
Well, I was here all week, and it's been a busy week, so I'll probably have the longest report. Quickly, though, I do want to give a little bit of information just in regards to, we would typically do a 45-day revise at this point in time. The COLA did increase from 0.76% in the January governor's budget proposal to 1.07 in the May revise. Our adopted budget, though, was built on the 1.07%. Sorry, did I say 1 point? Yes, I did. From the May revise. So we haven't had any significant budget changes that would require us, per the county direction, and just the law in general, that would require us to do a 45-day revise. However, our next steps in the budget timeline will be to present the first interim report in December. First interim report will include any carryover from prior years as well as expenditures through October 31 of 2024. So just in case people are wondering why we are not doing that, that is the reason why. We would probably still, in a typical year, do one even if we didn't need to do it. But Doug is sitting in 2 seats right now that are very large seats by himself. And so we're going to cut him a little bit of a breath of moment and give him a break while we wait for our new CBO to arrive. And she will be here at our next board meeting. So we're excited to welcome her. Speaking of the Leadership Day, I'm going to have a slide pop up here. So I'm just going to quickly walk through what that day was like because we're going to see these often. My goal is that they go far and wide across our community, both within our school system as well as, on the external side. So essentially what we did is all of our leadership team, I would say there was 60 to 70 people, were in the room. We started the day just with some nuts and bolts, the basic life is boring routine of us giving information to them. And then we kicked off around 9:30 with everybody's up on their feet. And I don't think we sat, the next time we sat, Kelly's shaking her head at me, right, until noon. I don't think anybody sat down until 12 o'clock. And essentially, there were 11 questions that were posed up on chart paper. And the group was broken up into teams of 4 to 5 people. And they were with that team this entire process. And the first round, as each team went to each chart, was to just mind dump information. And it didn't matter. There was no right or wrong answer. It was just a point of contact for people to get out whatever it was that they felt and that was important as it related to that question. Second round, each individual was given 5 to 7 quote unquote dots. Those dots were actually with a marker. And so they could then go to each chart and they would choose the top 5 to 7 that really resonated with them. Most of the chart papers were 2 to 3 pages long. It had a lot of information. And from there, we just kept doing the rinse repeat routine until we finally narrowed it down. And each chart paper, there were a total of 11, had no more than 3 items. From there, the group then individually went around and decided what were the top things that they felt resonated across every chart. So if you look here on this chart, those were the areas of focus, and those are the 4 blue pieces around the outside of the circle. Staff, our administrative staff and our leadership team decided that the 4 things we are really going to focus on this year is being student-centered. Everything we do, talk about, focus on, anything and everything, we're going to ask ourselves, how does this support students and their needs? The second one is mindset, and by that we mean growth mindset, positive mindset. How are we going to have that lens so that everything we do is in a positive sense, and we know that it's for the good of the organization? The next one is collaboration, and this is across sites. This is across grade levels, across departments, you name it, but really sitting down and having time to collaborate and really learning from one another. And then the last one is about systems. Do we need to improve our systems, create systems, or adjust our systems at any time? I'm all about let's work smarter, not harder, and let's learn from each other. What one site is doing really well, let's learn from that. And if it's something that we can replicate, then let's do that at another school site to help them. So those are the 4 areas of focus. You'll hear us probably talk about these often throughout the school year. They will stay with us for this year. And then as we move forward into a strategic plan, we'll have a larger team moving forward that will include that leadership team. It'll include the board, student voices, community members, parents, and teachers and classified staff as we go into a larger strategic plan. This is just a very watered down version of that to get us something with a common theme so we can have a common focus of discussion for the year. In the afternoon after lunch, we then had some conversations about core values. We talked about what are core values, we defined a core value, and then everyone sat with 3x5 cards silently writing down as many words that they could think of The goal was for the team of anywhere from 10 to 15 people to come up with 5 to 7 core value words that were important to them. And the best part about this was and I think Mrs. Mankey said it very well earlier, it was the intellectual debating that happened in the room. Suddenly, everybody became very energized. You would have thought it was Family Feud. As one team, there were 6 teams in the room, and as one team would throw out a word, there was clapping and cheering happening as if it were the Family Feud. You'd hear some boos from the other side. It was very lively and great. Ultimately, we landed on the 3 words in the middle that are integrity, persevere, and inspire. And those will be our 3 core value words that we will lean on for the remainder of the school year. So that was an exciting day. I think, yes, we were all tired, but excited by the end, and it really gives us something to really focus in on as a common vision moving us forward. In addition to that particular day, we had I was out doing site visits. I was able to visit Lawrence, Granada, Sunset, and I was able to meet with the Maryland principal. We opted to not do it on site for all the reasons. If you haven't been there, you would know why. I attended a Rotary evening social, which was fantastic. I was able to meet additional community members and make some great connections with those that we also do business with. I spent I had a wonderful meeting with Chief Young at the police department and was able to get a tour of the facility as well as meet all of his staff that really support our school district. It was great to really learn about our SROs and some of those functions. And I really want to commend Chief Young. The police department fully funds our SROs, and I've never heard of that, where it's not a mutual financial support provided both by the district as well as the police department. And so I really commend him and his department for that. And then I was able today to have a meeting with the interim superintendent of Pleasanton as we're working to build those relationships just within the Valley area here and the other superintendents that I work with. So that was exciting. So it was a great week. Busy, but great.
Thank you. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but our meeting is now adjourned at 7:37 p.m. Yes.